You see, we spend our lives clinging to things, to people, to plans, to the idea of who we think we ought to be. And it's quite strange, really, because the tighter we hold on, the more things seem to slip through our fingers. Now, this isn't merely a poetic idea. It's the very structure of life. You cannot hold the wind. You cannot capture a sunset in a box. You can photograph it, yes, but the living moment, the shimmering air, the scent, the warmth, that is gone the moment you try to possess it. Life, you see, is a dance, a flowing, ever-changing process. And the moment you try to fix it, to pin it down, it ceases to be alive. It becomes a kind of taxidermy of experience, a preserved form, but not the living thing itself. Let's imagine for a moment that you're learning to swim. If you panic, thrash, and fight the water, you begin to sink. But the moment you relax, the water holds you up. The sea, that ancient and endless being, supports you only when you stop struggling. That is the paradox of surrender. In the same way, life holds you when you stop trying to dominate it, when you stop insisting that it conform to your expectations. Because you see, every expectation is a form of control, an attempt to dictate to the universe how it should behave. And the universe, being far more intelligent than our desires, doesn't take kindly to being managed. But we've been trained, oh, how deeply trained, to believe that if we don't control things, everything will fall apart, that we must manage every detail, direct every outcome, and worry constantly to prove that we care. What nonsense! The tree doesn't worry about growing leaves. The river doesn't agonize about finding the sea. They simply express their nature, and in doing so, fulfill it completely. So the question arises, what happens when we let go? When we stop the endless effort to make life fit our mold, an extraordinary thing occurs. We begin to see. We notice that the world is moving perfectly well on its own, that the sun rises without our permission, the heart beats without our command, and the breath moves in and out without our will. You are not the puppeteer of the universe, you are part of its dance, and to dance you must listen to the rhythm. When two people waltz, they move not by force but by sensitivity, by attunement. One leads yes, but both respond. They are not two things but one motion, and so it is with you and life. But here's the trick. Most people think that letting go means losing something. They say, if I let go, I'll be lazy, I'll lose my ambition, I'll have nothing. But this is misunderstanding. Letting go is not resignation, it is participation. It is not giving up, it is giving in to the flow of reality. For you cannot truly receive life until your hands are empty. We are like travelers burdened with too many bags. Every memory, every regret, every fear is another piece of luggage, and we drag it all with us, groaning under the weight, wondering why the journey feels so heavy. But the more you put down, the lighter you become, and the farther you can go. When you let go, life doesn't take from you. It gives, but it gives in a language you must learn to hear. You see, as long as you demand certainty, you will miss the subtle music, the unexpected turns, the serendipities, the quiet invitations that life offers only to those who are willing to be surprised. Now imagine you're standing at the edge of a vast forest. You could bring a map, plot every step, plan every hour, but the forest has its own intelligence. It whispers through the wind, speaks in the rustle of the leaves, calls you down paths you didn't know existed. If you insist on sticking to your plan, you'll miss the very magic that called you there in the first place. The more you let go of where you think you should go, the more the path begins to reveal itself. And it's the same in love. The moment you try to possess someone, they begin to fade. But when you let them be, when you love as the sun shines without condition, love deepens. It breathes. It becomes alive again. Letting go, then, is not a loss of control. It is the rediscovery of harmony. For you are not an isolated ego trying to steer a hostile universe. You are the universe playing at being you. The river doesn't fight its current, it is the current. And when you finally see that you are not apart from the flow of life, but the flow itself, there is a kind of laughter, a deep, cosmic laughter. The game was never to control it, but to join it. And yet our conditioning resists this. We say, if I don't hold on, I'll lose what I have. But think of this, everything you truly love, everything that truly matters, cannot be possessed. You can't own beauty. You can't keep a moment. You can't capture joy. You can only experience them as they pass, and that passing is their beauty. So what would it mean really to let go? It would mean trusting life, trusting that beneath the apparent chaos there is a deeper order, that behind the changing forms there is something constant, not as an idea, but as an experience. And that experience begins when you stop grasping, when you let go of the need to understand, the need to win, the need to be right, the need to be safe. Because safety, my friends, is an illusion. The only real security is in embracing insecurity, in realizing that the ground you stand on has always been moving and that this movement is not a threat, but the dance of life itself. When you can laugh with it, when you can move as it moves, you discover that the universe is not against you, it is you. And then life begins to give. Not because you've earned it, but because you've stopped resisting it. The rain falls on the open hand, not the closed fist. And so, the art of letting go is not some spiritual trick or moral lesson. It's the recognition that you were never holding anything real to begin with. You were holding shadows, reflections, echoes. Life itself was always flowing through you, not toward you. To let go is simply to realize that you are already being carried. You see, there's a peculiar beauty in realizing that you've never been in control. At first, it seems terrifying. The mind says, if I am not in control, then who am I? What will happen to me? But this is precisely the invitation to discover that the me you've been trying to protect is not the real you. It's a collection of memories, images, opinions, and fears, a story told in time. And stories, as you know, are meant to move. What happens when you stop clinging to that story? When you allow the narrative to unfold without trying to edit it? Something miraculous. You begin to feel alive again. You begin to breathe, because all this clinging to identity, to plans, to permanence, it's exhausting, isn't it? It's like trying to hold your breath forever. At some point, you must exhale. You must release. And that exhale, that letting go, is what allows new air, new life to come in. People say they want freedom, but freedom is not found by acquiring more control. Freedom is found in releasing the need for it. To be free is to move as life moves, to sway like bamboo in the wind, to bend but not break, to flow rather than resist. Consider the ocean again. Every wave rises and falls. Each one is unique, yet not separate from the sea. Imagine a wave saying, I must hold my form. I must not fall back into the ocean. It would live in terror, wouldn't it? But the wave that knows it is the ocean never fears dissolving because it understands that falling back is not death, it's renewal. And so with us. We fear endings, the end of a relationship, a job, even the end of our lives, because we think we are the form, not the essence. But every ending is simply a transformation, a return, a continuation in another guise. When you truly let go, you begin to trust this transformation. You see that life never stops. It changes its costume, plays new roles, but the play itself, consciousness, being, awareness, goes on forever. Now, it's easy to understand this intellectually. The real art is to live it, to practice letting go in small human ways, not as a lofty philosophy, but as a daily dance. When you're in conversation and someone disagrees with you, can you let go of being right? When plans fall apart, can you let go of your imagined control and see what life is offering instead? When someone leaves, can you let go of the illusion that love was ever about possession? Every one of these moments is a gate, and each gate opens only when you release your grip. It's curious, isn't it, that the most alive people you meet are not the ones clutching desperately to their lives, but those who move lightly. They are unburdened, curious, spontaneous. They trust the unfolding, and in doing so, life seems to trust them back. Because life loves the open heart. It loves to rush in where there is space. If you look at your own existence, you'll find that every truly wonderful thing, every serendipity, every deep connection, every insight, came when you weren't forcing it. You weren't strategizing or scheming. You were simply open. Maybe you were walking, maybe you were listening to music, maybe you were doing nothing at all. And in that openness, life slipped in quietly and said, "Here, take this." And that's the secret, you see. Life gives to the empty hand. When your mind is crowded with expectations, there's no room for surprise. When your heart is guarded by fear, love cannot enter. But when you stop trying to hold, to manage, to predict, the universe rushes in, laughing, and fills the space with more than you could have ever planned. This is what the mystics call grace. But grace is not something given to you by an external deity. It is what happens when you align with the natural rhythm of things. When you cease opposing the flow and realize you are the flow. Letting go, therefore, is an act of intelligence. It's not passive, it's not weak. It's the highest form of participation. To trust the intelligence of life more than the anxieties of the ego. And when you do, life begins to move through you in ways you cannot predict. You find yourself saying the right thing at the right time, meeting the right people, arriving at the right places, not because you've calculated it, but because you've allowed yourself to be carried. It's rather like playing an instrument. The beginner tries so hard to get it right, every note, every beat, but the master doesn't play the music plays through them. There is no trying, there is only flow. And so, letting go is the mastery of living. You do not need to force the flower to bloom. You do not need to convince the sun to rise. You only need to participate in what is already happening. The irony is that the more you let go, the more fully you are given back to yourself. Because when you stop identifying with the passing clouds of thought and emotion, what remains is vast, still, luminous. The awareness that watches, untouched, unafraid. That awareness is life, and life gives everything to itself. Now, people sometimes ask, but how do I let go? And that question, though innocent, contains the very trap. For the moment you try to do letting go, you're already holding on to the idea of it. It's like trying to relax by effort. The harder you try, the tenser you become. So the art is not to do letting go, but to see that there's nothing to hold. To notice that everything you cling to is slipping away on its own. You are not required to push the river. It's flowing already. Letting go, then, is simply allowing, to allow yourself to be as you are, to allow others to be as they are, to allow the world to unfold as it does. In this allowing, there's peace, and in that peace, there's creativity, aliveness, joy. You stop living in defense and start living in wonder. So next time you find yourself clutching at something, a thought, a worry, a person, an outcome, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what if I didn't? What if you let the current carry you just for a little while? You might find that you don't sink at all, you float. And as you float, you begin to notice the great play unfolding, the laughter, the colors, the endless transformations. You are both the wave and the ocean, the dancer and the dance.